colleague with whom I've shared many a platform, particularly in his earlier roles as secretary in the government, but who's doing a very, very illustrious work as the chairman of TRAI, Dr. P.D. Vaghela, Shri K. Rajaramanji, secretary in the Department of Telecom, again somebody with whom I worked quite extensively in his earlier roles, Miss Meenakshi Gupta, member TRAI, Shri V. Raghunandan, secretary TRAI. I'm given to understand we have several international regulators who have also joined this program. Warm welcome to all of you to India, and I hope you have found the deliberations useful and invigorating. All the international delegates who have joined this program, friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, it's a matter of pride for all of us that TRAI is completing 25 years in the service of the nation. And I compliment Dr. Vaghela and your entire team for the wonderful work that you have done to help the Indian telecom industry grow in a very organized fashion. And of course, what better coincidence than to celebrate your 25 years when the nation is celebrating its Amrit Mahotsav, the 75 years of our independence. It's truly a matter of delight for me to be a part of your celebrations and to get an opportunity to talk about the Prime Minister's vision when he conceptualized the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan initiative. Earlier speakers spoke about the telecom revolution in recent times, in the going forward into the future, our own role, which is expanding significantly on research, on innovation, which brings to mind the huge impact communication and its technologies, as they evolved over the years, have had on human civilization. And if one goes back to the 4th century, the Greek hydraulic optical telegraph system in the 4th century BC to the first commercial telephone services, I believe between New Haven and London in 1879. The world had seen one phase of growth in the communication world. After Marconi, the Italian inventor, made the first wireless telegraphy, we had our very own Indian scientist, Dr. Jagdish Chandra Bose, who pioneered the investigations of radio and microwave optics. And therefore, for us in India to be a part of this emerging story as we go into 4G, 5G, the Honorable Prime Minister also spoke about the 6G technologies which will come into the future. I think we are inspired by India's own contribution in the past in this field. And I have no doubt in my mind that the work that the telecom sector has done in the last few years, particularly, as Minister Vaishnav said, with regard to bridging the digital divide, with regard to making telephony and telecom a part of everybody's day-to-day life, an affordable and integral part of our lives. I have no doubt that information and communication technologies, along with digital connectivity, which is growing at a rapid pace to reach every village in the country, will be the foundation of India's growth story in the years to come. It will have its own impact on almost every sector in the country, and the new age digital connectivity, very often based on wireless, sometimes on wired and linked technologies, and of late also dependent in a big way with satellite technologies. All of them collectively as an ecosystem will play a crucial role in taking up the challenges that the world faces. And one of the most recent examples is clearly the COVID-19 pandemic, where the telecom systems, both in India and in the rest of the world, helped by enabling quick and easy access to health infrastructure, and of course, several other support systems, even as elementary a thing as keeping all of us locked down in our homes, which we could manage by working from home, using the communication facilities widely available across the country. The fact that entertainment was available at home, keeping everybody rooted to their own homes. The fact that education could quickly switch over to EdTech, and we saw the rapid mushrooming of online education during this period. And of course, India's own contribution to meeting the needs of the world in the IT space through the COVID period. So much so that I'd like to thank all of you associated with this ecosystem for earning India the title of a trusted partner, because through the COVID pandemic, we did not let down any commitments that we had made to the rest of the world in terms of providing back office support. The R&D work, the software development, the back offices that were running in India, the storage of data that was happening in India, everything worked seamlessly. And I suspect not for 1 second did India let down any of our international obligations. And a big congratulations to all of you associated with this system, the ministry, the minister, the officials, TRAI, and all our other stakeholders, both in this room and otherwise, who made this happen. Today we are making great strides, very rapid strides, in new age technologies related with telecom and other digital infrastructure. In fact, if one was to see or encapsulate the work of Prime Minister Modi's government in the last 8 years, we could easily look at 5 principles which define the work in the last 8 years to promote this sector: reach, reform, regulate, respond, and revolutionize. And in some sense, earlier speakers alluded to all these subjects in one form or the other. The fact that the mission before this government and the nation is that we should take technology and broadband to the remotest corners of India, take it to every panchayat across the country, ensure connectivity to every village, both wired or wireless, as the case may be, shows the sensitivity of the government to bridge the digital divide that Minister Vaishnav alluded to ensure that no man or woman remains deprived of their ability to connect with the rest of the world. And this outreach, this reach, expanding through the nook and corner of the country, will be almost unique, even when we look at other countries in the world. The kind of quality infrastructure that is going to very, very distant and remote villages is not found in many parts of the world, many parts of the developed world also. The kind of connectivity that we experience on our highways or on the trains is possibly not available in the most developed countries of the world also. And therefore, reach has in a way defined the growth of this sector, the organized growth of this sector, the very targeted programs to reach every citizen of this country, every resident of India. The journey of telecom in this country over the last 8 years has been one of significant reform which has helped bring down the cost of using telecom facilities, whether it's voice or data, to levels unheard of, unparalleled in the rest of the world. Reform to make life and business easier. Reform to save and protect issues or companies which are having issues. Reform to ensure customer gets choice, but customer also gets world-class services. And in several measures, this reform story, this reform journey is a continuing journey. And I was just having some informal discussions with Mr. Vaishnav, and they're already looking at newer steps, newer ways to make the telecom revolution always make it contemporary, ensure that it's ahead of its times. Our regulators have ensured the very proper, stable and predictable policies in the country. They have ensured that companies work to a plan, but companies also work in the interests of customers. And as Consumer Affairs Minister, I think I can express my gratitude to TRAI for ensuring that I have some of the lowest number of complaints in the Consumer Affairs Ministry related to telecom. This government responds whenever the need arises to any crisis. If I were to start listing out instances, probably Dr. Goyal will have to serve us dinner also here. But it has been the most responsive government. Of course, in many sectors, including in the telecom sector in a very, very significant way. I was almost tempted to divert from the subject to something which is very contemporary and related to me, where the government demonstrated exemplary response and timely response, but I'll avoid talking about it and diverting the subject on hand. But truly, this has been a government that does not stand as a constant. With changing times, with emerging situations, this government proactively responds, it acts. And that, to my mind, is a pleasant change from the dinosaurial thinking that over the years, many of us had got used to. I'll never forget that as a young child, the common refrain to all of us was, "Chalta hai." सब कुछ चलता है, जैसा चलता है चलेगा. कई लोग बोलते थे भगवान भरोसे चलता है. This government decided to change that paradigm and ensure that we will be proactive, we'll ensure that things work in an orderly fashion, that things work for the best interests of the nation coming first, and to ensure the well-being of every strata, every section of society, rich or poor, rural or urban, young or old, ensuring that everybody gets equal opportunity to enjoy the fruits of development. And finally, the journey of telecom has been a revolutionary journey in the last few years. After the first generation of reform that Prime Minister Mr. Vajpayee had initiated through the new telecom policy in '99, I think the massive change, deregulation, simplification, ease of doing business that has been ushered in recent years under Prime Minister Narendra Modi have truly demonstrated how India will be at the forefront of the digital revolution and technology at its best available to every citizen of India. In fact, Dr. Goyal talked about JAM, the Jandan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity, and the huge impact that has had on the lives of the common man, the people of India. It has connected literally every citizen across the country through technology with financial inclusion. It has helped direct benefit transfer take the fruits of technology to the people by ensuring that no leakages can happen when benefits have to be transferred to the common man. The direct benefit transfer has almost ensured low transactional cost and very, very high integrity, thereby resulting in savings amounting to lakhs of crores, billions of dollars to the government exchequer. And as the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned in Berlin, as many of us heard on television, gone are the days when the government used to be helpless before middlemen and corruption, and prime ministers were forced to acknowledge that when the central government or any government sends 100 rupees to the poor, they barely enjoy the benefit of 15 rupees. With an 85% leakage through the value chain, this country has transformed itself, has revolutionized itself, has reformed processes, has used technology to bridge the gap and ensure zero leakages. And the 100 rupees that goes to the poor reaches the poor as 100 rupees with no cost on the poor, no leakages, no middlemen, no corruption in the system. And to my mind, for many of us, all of us who are taxpayers in this room, who often used to wonder that when we pay such taxes, is our money being put to good use? Who used to be concerned with this level of corruption over the years. This is the single most happiness that our taxes today, the taxes that you and I pay, are being put to good use. They are being used for the welfare of the poor. They are being used to respond to the needs of the poor. They are being used to provide toilets to every home, to provide electricity connection to every home, to provide cooking gas connections to every home, to ensure digital connectivity reaches every home, to ensure every family gets a proper house. With over 30 million, 3 crore and more houses already having been built and given to the poor of this country, both in rural and urban India. All of these programs being possible because they are resting on technology. And I must say, one of the biggest transformational initiatives was the One Nation, One Ration card, which Prime Minister Modi had conceptualized, recognizing that there are large numbers of beneficiaries of the National Food Security Program and now the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, by which free food grains are being distributed to 800 million people, 80 crore of our less privileged brothers and sisters, seamlessly using technology throughout the country. You no more need a ration card. Your thumb, your biometric is your ration card. You no longer need to go to your village or the issuing office where your ration card or your registration is done. You can pick up your grain from anywhere in the country, partially from one place, partially from another. You can pick up your free food grain eligibility or concessional eligibility at different times, at different places, more than 2 places, more than once or twice or thrice, at your choice. And that is empowerment of the common man that Prime Minister Modi has relentlessly worked for over the last 8 years. Truly a leader who's reflected that his government will be committed and work for the poorest of the poor. He said this when he took office 8 years ago, And now as we complete 8 years in office, I can say with pride that Prime Minister Modi has relentlessly demonstrated that his work is for the poor, for the less privileged, for the marginalized sections of society, without discrimination, for every person who deserves any support. And in all of these 8 years, all the wonderful work that happened, the common thread has been the Digital India mission, very, very ably managed by all of you in this room and by the ministry and by the regulators like TRAI. A big, big thank you to all of you for the wonderful work that you have done for 8 years. As the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, the nation has moved from the 2G age, and that's something we would all like to forget in a hurry, to 4G, and now the 5G stack that is fast taking shape under your leadership. 5G, I'm given to understand, will contribute over $450 billion to the Indian economy over the next 15 years. And the launch of our very own indigenous 5G testbed by the Honorable Prime Minister will certainly be a milestone in the journey, the Atmanirbhar journey of telecom in India. It will help in digitizing the economy, boosting the startup ecosystem, improving governance further, help ease of living and ease of doing business across the country. Thus, the two programs, the two technology programs that TRAI is launching is truly very, very appropriate and relevant as the government moves more and more towards a self-reliant economy. The collaborative regulations program that you have launched, the co-creation and sharing of infrastructure in sync with the PM Gati Shakti initiative, truly has path-breaking potential. And secondly, the International Regulators Roundtable that you have chaired on collaborative regulations using RegTech and other technology platforms. To my mind, both of these are extremely relevant today, can generate the next level of transformation in this sector, and I compliment you for having visualized this, and I'm sure your pioneering work will help other regulators also, and this work will take the India story to the rest of the world to understand and learn what potential smart regulation and simple regulation has for the orderly development of this sector. The Prime Minister had conceptualized the PM Gati Shakti a few years ago. In fact, the seeds of this started in his mind when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And he started this organization called BISAC in Ahmedabad. This works with geospatial mapping and over the years has developed an expertise in this subject. Prime Minister Modi was very keen that the age of haphazard development in the country, particularly in the sphere of infrastructure, can only be changed by the effective use of technology. And he conceptualized the PM Gati Shakti. It's a very simple program, a very simple thought. And it's always simplicity that defines smart use of technology. His simple logic was, and this comes before all of us, as Minister Vaishnav said, for all our life, we've seen roads being dug up in a series of events. A road is dug up, a brand new road is laid down, asphalted, cemented, and then another department comes, says we want to put the drainage lines. So you dig up the road again, put it in, close it, make it as good as new, and a few months later somebody wants to put in a water line or an electricity line. or a internet cable. And this story, ladies and gentlemen, we have all seen it. All our life, we have been concerned about it. We have criticized governments for years. But Prime Minister Modi looked at it from a solution perspective, not a problem perspective. The moment you start looking at a problem with a view that you have to solve it, you have to find a solution, life becomes so much simpler. And what was the solution he came up with? He said if we were to develop all the available resources in the country as data points using technology, and if those data points could talk to each other using your APIs, we could actually plan smarter, plan better, and implement our infrastructure projects more efficiently in a time-bound manner within budgeted costs. So his concept, which has now been translated into PM Gati Shakti, was creating layers of data of different issues. For example, all the forests in the country have now been mapped on one map, which is one layer of PM Gati Shakti. All the rivers in the country have been mapped on another map, which is a second layer on this. All the available telecom towers can be mapped, are probably already mapped, on one map, which becomes a third layer. All the railway lines, all the seaports, all the airports, airstrips, all the roadways, highways, seaways, all in different layers of data, individual maps. And now we have over 400 of these maps with different data points. We are right now developing a map of all the testing facilities in the country, so that we can start planning the availability of adequate and appropriate testing facilities wherever it is really required. Rather than somebody making a transformer or a telecom product in, let's say, Bengaluru and having to take it to Chandigarh for testing. Where are the economic activity data points and where are the testing laboratory data points? Should any of you want to plan your industry, plan your business, plan the 5G telecom network that you are now going to roll out, all of these maps of data that have been prepared, which talk to each other through APIs, will be helpful in smarter and efficient planning of your infrastructure. And a simple couple of examples will help us understand this better. Of course, when a road or a highway is being built, all those who need to have any facilities along with that can now know through the PM Gati Shakti that a road or a highway is coming up on a certain route, and I don't have a telecom facility on that route, so I better pitch in and tell them I want my telecom lines laid simultaneously, or I need my water lines laid simultaneously. The entire planning exercise gets comprehensive, very holistic. But look at another situation. We have the railway minister here. If Railways is planning a new alignment or a new railway line, and the plans are all made, they are designed based on gradient, based on curvature, all of that, the plans are ready. Surveys are done, very often takes a long time. Budgets are made, passed, and during implementation, you suddenly find it crosses a forest. And getting permission through a forest then becomes a nightmare. God forbid if it passes through a wildlife sanctuary, then the problem is even further much more serious. And today we have projects in this country on different sectors, languishing for as long as 20, 30, 40, and in some cases more than 40 years. I think Ashwini ji has figured out what I am alluding to. For lack of sensible planning, for lack of proper database planning, for lack of integrating technology in the planning process. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a simple outcome that PM Gati Shakti offers to all of us. And to my mind, nobody in the world has visualized this kind of a technology-based planning tool, which can help you in the planning, which can help you in a way going forward in reducing costs, reducing timeline to implement projects. So should a highway be planned and you find it passes through a forest, slight realignment, you skirt the forest area and you won't have a difficulty while actually implementing the project. Or you find that it passes through a ASI site, a monument of national importance or a heritage property which you can't touch. You might as well plan from today to skirt that rather than get stuck halfway into the project. Simple, elementary, logical, but none of us thought of it for so many years. And when Prime Minister Modi articulated his vision on PM Gati Shakti, while it sounded very simple, but I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a labor of love for the whole of the government. And while 16 ministries were listed there, in some sense, almost everybody in the government has played some role, some contribution to making PM Gati Shakti happen. Another example of a whole of the government approach that Prime Minister Modi has continuously articulated and focused on. BISAC did some outstanding work on making this a reality. And today, we are all blessed to have a very, very effective instrument as a tool to help us plan our infrastructure better. I am really delighted, Dr. Goyal, Ashwini ji and your teams, that you have chosen to discuss PM Gati Shakti with our colleagues from abroad, from our industry colleagues, and to take up this in mission mode to help us in our plans to support the economy as much as we work cross-sectorally using PM Gati Shakti, where telecom and other sectors partner with each other. We'll be able to increase our scale, we'll be able to reduce our costs, we'll be able to leverage shared resources amongst different departments, we'll be able to improve our reach to the common man to bridge the digital divide that was mentioned earlier, and truly amplify the development journey of India across the length and breadth of the country much faster. We'll also be able to locate our economic activities smarter. Where should the textile clusters be? Where should the pharma parks be? Where do we have defense corridors? Where do we need a new port to come up or a new airport to come up? Which is the new alignment of a highway or a rail route or a inland waterway where there is potential, economic potential to grow. All of this is possible because the data compiled in PM Gati Shakti is robust, is contemporary and vibrant. I'm sure this kind of sharing of digital infrastructure and data will help us in having secure, sustainable, scalable and collaborative approach for planning smarter. B, can create common utility corridors for different sectors like gas, electricity, water, optical fiber, telecommunications. And in that sense, the model ROW code that you've come up with is extremely important step. I'm happy to hear that almost all the states and union territories are onboarding on it. I'm sure that can become a template for other areas of infrastructure planning and faster rollout of infrastructure to engage with. Such public-private collaboration will certainly help us in creating innovative models of development. I'm told that your next session, you're going to engage more deeper into how the railways, ports, airports, metros, all of them can be brought together in this collaborative approach. So friends, this is the future of India. This is the mantra on which we all are collectively working towards the making of a developed India. An India which is quality conscious, which is cost conscious, which is time conscious, and all of these reflecting on a sense of responsibility. The responsibility that all of us share in India's growth journey. We are on the path of unprecedented economic growth. Every economic indicator shows good times ahead of us, be it the growth of the GDP, be it the improvement in the lives of our common man, be it the high international trade in terms of our own engagement with world trade, be it the fact that today we are a provider of technologies to even the developed world. As the Prime Minister said, Digital India is an instrument of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Digital India is our collective commitment. Digital India is the fountainhead or the foundation of Atmanirbhar Bharat. To my mind, because of Digital India, no power on earth can stop India from becoming a developed and prosperous nation. My best wishes to all of you, to you in the journey of the next 25 years, to all of you as India moves into the Amrit Kal, the 25 years which will define India's future and the future of every citizen of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that motivating address and the words of inspiration. And may I now request Dr. P.D. Waghela, Chairman TRAI, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our Honorable Chief Guest, the Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Waghela to also felicitate and thank Dr. Ashwini Vaishnavji, the Honorable Minister, our guest of honor today. Thank you, Dr. Waghela, for doing the honors. May I request Sri Rajiv Sinha, Secretary TRAI, to kindly do the honors of felicitating Sri K. Rajaraman. Thank you, sir. May I now call upon Dr. M.P. Tangirala, Principal Advisor TRAI, to felicitate Dr. P.D. Waghela, Chairman TRAI. Thank you very much indeed. And may I invite Sri Mahendra Srivastava, Principal Advisor TRAI, to felicitate Ms. Meenakshi Gupta, Member TRAI. And may I invite Shri Sanjeev Kumar Sharma, Advisor TRAI, to felicitate Shri V. Raghunandan, Secretary TRAI. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Shri V. Raghunandan, Secretary TRAI, to kindly close the proceedings of this session, the ministerial session, by proposing the vote of thanks.
Honorable Ministers, dignitaries on the dais, international delegations, all senior officers from the government regulatory bodies, friends from the industry, media, and ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of TRAI, really I am fortunate to be with you, all of you, for presenting the vote of thanks. From the entire TRAI family, a special thanks to our chief guest, Shri Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Consumer Affairs, Food and Distribution and Textiles, for accepting our invitation and for being with us today. Sir, your thoughts truly inspired us. So the energy levels with which you have spoken really inspired us, and then you have appreciated TRAI and also the industry, all of us, and then it has set a high benchmarks on us, and then honest on us to live up to your expectations, sir. We will respond to that surely, sir. Thank you very much. So, sir, we are also really thrilled to have our special guest, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav, Honorable Minister of Communications, Electronics and Information Technology and Railways, for this event. The presence of honorable ministers heading the different ministries and controlling different sectors is a testimony that the whole government approach they are following, and then it is not only following, they are actually truly displaying. Sir, we are really honored to have you here, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for guiding us in this occasion, sir. Sir, despite, sir, cabinet meeting today, both the honorable ministers have made it a point to see that they have reached in time and then to be with us. That shows that the importance which you have given us, sir. We are really grateful to you, sir. So on a personal note, sir, I am just afraid that when I was tracking your movement, both of the ministers' movement, they were still in the cabinet meeting. The moment they left the cabinet meeting and then they are here, sir, I am afraid you have reached so in time, and I am not sure whether both of you taken lunch. So we would request you to kindly join us for the high tea immediately after this, sir, on this occasion. And I am also grateful to the heads of representatives, various international regulatory bodies from Bangladesh, Turkey, Botswana, Cambodia, Uganda, Mauritius, as well as the representatives from the APT Secretariat and GSMA for having come all the way to India to grace the occasion, Silver Jubilee celebrations of TRAI. Their august presence in our midst has added value to our program, sir. My special thanks to Mr. Rajaraman, who could not make it yesterday, despite being, I hope, sir, he has fully recovered and then he has joined us today, and we are indeed glad, sir, you have joined us today. I am also grateful to all the speakers, panelists, who have come all the way to present their thoughts and views. And I am also thankful to the members of the press who are here with us today. And finally, I would like to thank actually our own chairman, Dr. P.D. Vaghela, and members of and member TRAI, Ms. Meenakshi Gupta, who have been a constant support to all of us and inspiring us for the preparation of this event. I will be failing in my duties if I don't thank my own TRAI officers, principal advisors, and all other members of TRAI who have worked relentlessly for making it a grand success. I also thank Ashok Hotel and all others who have made this event a grand success. Thank you all, sir, once again.
Thank you very much indeed. And may I now invite all our international regulators to kindly join the honorable ministers on the stage for a group photograph. All the international regulators. I would request everybody else to kindly remain in their seats. Sir, aap baith jaiye, they can stand. ये चेयर्स पीछे करवा दो. चेयर्स पीछे जल्दी आ जाओ. And ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for all our international regulators who have traveled from all across the globe to be here with us today, joining us for the celebrations of the 25 years of glorious existence of TRAI. And after this picture, we would like to invite the senior officials of TRAI, advisors and above, including advisors from the regional offices also. So one more group photograph with the officials of TRAI, sir. All the TRAI officials to kindly join on the stage. All the officials who have come from the regional offices also to kindly join. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, we will break for high tea. I would request everybody else to kindly remain seated. Kindly leave the aisle passages clear for the honorable ministers to leave. आप सभी से निवेदन है एग्जिट द्वार को खाली रखें. माननीय मंत्रीगण वहां से बाहर जाएंगे. आप सभी से निवेदन है निकास द्वार को का रास्ता खाली रखें. Please kindly leave the exit passage clear for the honorable ministers to leave.
Very nicely come.
And ladies and gentlemen, the high tea is of 15 minutes. I would request everybody to be seated back for the last session of the seminar. Thank you. I would request everybody to be seated by 4:15. We will be